Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Gameable Audio, a VGM podcast. But this is not any podcast at all. It is a very special one. We're going to talk about monsters. And also, just to have that said, this is yet another episode where we're sponsored by the Nordic Game Conference, as we are in a small room here and enjoying the conference and having a good time. But with me is none other than Sébastien Croteau.
Hello, Christopher.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. No, and again, last day Nordic Game.
Yes.
We've been at it for 4 days. So we still have a bit of energy left, but not that much. So I'm kind of glad it's almost over.
Yeah. Like you said in your talk when you were doing creature vocalizations, like you've been talking like nonstop for like 14 hours a day now.
Every day. So there's so much at some point we can do, and there's a limited amount of energy, but nonetheless, we meet incredible people like yourself that I had the chance to meet, and other people everywhere. So that's, for me, that's kind of the fuel that can fuel me for 14 hours a day. You know, meeting new people and talking to people, and to passionate people from the industry. But after a while, you kind of run out of new people to meet. And
of course.
You run out of fuel.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with you. For me, it's like when I'm meeting people that are very passionate about their thing, I'm getting passionate and getting motivated, first of all. And it's so amazing to just see like the passion you have for vocalization and kind of where you come from. And that's kind of what we're going to digest a little bit more in depth from this one. But first of all, let's see a little bit more about you. Where do you come from the beginning, and how did you actually start going on with voices?
It's kind of a funny story. The thing is, I was born in Quebec before living in Montreal. Quebec is in the province of Quebec in Canada. And I was born there. And the thing is, when I started school, I was taught by nuns. So which is like, you know, people nowadays, like, they don't conceive that nuns could teach at some point, because that's not the thing they experienced when they went to school. And I started to play music in first grade, like really first grade. We were obligated, but that was fun, but obligated to play the flute. Second grade, the clarinet. Third grade, the trumpet. And then in fourth grade, piano. And that's a funny story. I was probably around 9, yes. And it was just a school with boys.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
And this was connected to church activities with the nun?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah?
We had 2 mass every week.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the only way, even at 9, you have certain conscious of the opposite sex, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to actually see girl my age was to sing in a choir. Guess what I did? I became a choir boy. So started to sing in a choir, starting to sing in church on Sundays. And I really love like to sing, like even at 9, it gave me, for me, I did my first show in the church, because basically I had 200 people on a Sunday. And I was the only one up front. Or sometime I was there with a girl, and we were singing in front of all those people. And of course, at that time, I didn't have any notion about this is entertainment.
Yeah,
I was just singing Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was like part of the daily day.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the first time I kind of touched the voice. But also the thing is, I remember when I was watching cartoon, and that's where my love of Monster and Creature comes from. When I was watching cartoon, like, I always loved the voices of the villain the most. Cookie Monster, Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Like, C is for cookie. Cookie starts with C. And the thing is, the funny thing is using false vocal fold, which is what death metal vocalists use. So you just need to put a little bit more pressure in it. So this guy, and then if you think about Commander Cobra from the G.I. Joe, but in the 80s, if you remember the voice, it was, and now I'm going to go a little further away from the mic, because I know I'm going to be loud. So, hey, G.I. Joe, attack! Like, it was really like screamo voice like
and
this.
also the high pitch as well. So
Yeah,
really going up in the spectrum.
Absolutely. And then you have like Skeletor having a weird voice. You got Grouch, which is another one in Sesame Street. And for me, like, I was absolutely fascinated by the weird voice. Like, I was like, wow. So that was a kind of my first meeting with monster and creature. And then I moved to a place east of Quebec, a little place, near the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. And again, because of women. When I arrived, there was a beautiful woman in my class, and she was actually listening to metal.
Oh.
So guess what I did?
Start listening to metal.
The thing is, if you look at it, it was always about love.
the love for everything.
But
basically.
it started as the love.
But it's also very interesting when it comes like every part so far has kind of fallen out for others' interest, but at the same time your own in some extent.
No, exactly. So then I started to listen to metal, and then I remember sometime we were doing party. Always the one bringing like that little cassette tape and playing cassette, and sometimes I will try to imitate because I went from punk music to death metal fairly quickly. Like it took a year. Transitioning from punk and then Sepultura, Metallica, and then some heavier stuff. Like in a year, like I went from
Yeah.
So and then when I started to do those kind of voices, I was not that good at the beginning. And at some point, I remember we had an arcade back when where we like here, like because I played Bubble here. So I was so happy. I had the high score here. And I remember I was in the back of the arcade singing, with my not so good voice, and someone came to me and was like, "Hey, I need a singer for my band. Like, would you like to audition?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do that." So I went there, first band, got it. It was called Cervical Slot, but SLOT, not SLUT, which is quite different.
It is.
So I did my first recording in 1991. And so I started singing 1990, 1991, first recording, 1992, first show. And I was like, kind of,
You were still quite young at this point in time.
I was 17. I started to sing at 15.
Yeah, and considering where you kind of come from, I know from my own age, I'm not as old as you, but even from my age, you're a little bit older than I am. No, but in all honesty, for me, when I grew up, it's like metal and so on was a little bit defined with the devil.
Yeah.
And considering your background being like grown up with nuns and so on as well, it's like how was it to transcend over to metal as well? Was it also like a barrier for you, or
no,
you can just do whatever you would like?
Yeah. And the thing is, I remember how it felt, screaming, and how good I felt afterwards. Like, because that's the thing, remember you're a teen, you want to rebel against the world. You have this kind of inner rage that you want to let out, but you don't know how, and you try to find ways, sometimes ways that are not good for you, to try and either numb the rage or let it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not good. But then letting the rage out in a creative manner with music, like it felt so good, and I absolutely love that feeling. So when my drummer broke his leg when I was in my first band, then I was asked by another band, "Hey, drummer broke his leg. Our guitarist, who is also a singer in the band, is leaving. So would you like to be the singer?" And that was in 1993. And then, so I joined, and I still have the same band today. So I started the band in 19. Of course, we took a long break, just 18 years of vacation. And we came back, we're working on a new album. But that's the thing. And then through that, I also discovered throat singing. That's the thing. Like I really love the voice, but I was, kind of a little dumb at the beginning. Like anyone who's listening to a new genre, it's like, oh, this is the best music in the world. There's nothing else.
Yeah. So you can become like hyper focused in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. But I was cheating a bit because I was loving other stuff, but I wouldn't tell my friend. Like I was listening to French music, I was listening to classical music, but like when we're a bunch of people, it's like all about metal, like metal, and everything else is bullshit. You don't want to tell them that you actually love the bullshit.
Yeah. It's like you're playing a part, playing almost a role.
Yeah, exactly. And then at some point, I remember I was listening to a movie called Baraka, and in there was someone doing something with his voice. Now I can do it, but it's overtone singing, which it's David Ikes and the Harmonic Choir, and was doing something like... So I was like, someone is doing that with his voice, and I was fascinated. So then I was able to find a teacher in Montreal, and then I started to do throat singing, and I was lucky enough to be trained by Tibetan monks who came in Montreal, people from Mongolia, Tuva, we actually came to Montreal, Inuit throat singer, because Inuit throat singing, that's what we have up north in Quebec. And then at some point I had a band called the Globe Glotters, and we were just mixing different form of throat singing and different kind of world music. After that, I was 5 years in a musical improv league in Montreal, like kind of doing whatever. You know, that was so out of my comfort zone, but now that I see what I do, and when I was talking to my talk, like, you have to be a really good improvisational skill. Sorry, French by default, so sometimes I mess up words. That really helped me. Like what I did, I was so out of my comfort zone, but I really liked it. Like it's like, okay, you need to sing country music. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't like country music. I don't know country music, but I was like, let's go. So it's like a leap of faith, and maybe it's gonna go bad, but it's fine. Because the important is just to try it, right?
It's so like the classical one when people are talking about you always need to try something new.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then in 2005, one of my friends started to work with Ubisoft Montreal. And he knew that I was doing weird voices, that I wasn't, so he was like, okay, hey, I know a guy, like for this game, like I know you're looking for it. I know a guy, maybe you should meet him. So I go there, meet the guy, they show me Creature Monster. I was like, wow, okay, for this one, I could do this voice. For this one, I could do, for this one, I could do other things. And then, okay, yeah, great idea, thank you. And then I don't have any news for Hitman. But that's the thing, back then I didn't know about the time it takes to create a video game. I have like no knowledge of that. So really I was like, he didn't like what I proposed, or I blew it and it's not gonna work. And then at some point, 8 months later, out of the blue, receive an email, and we're ready to record.
Oh my God.
Okay. So go to the studio, and the thing is, almost all the visual of the creature have changed. But the thing is, creature, the visual, have an impact on the sound that you imagine.
Yeah.
You know. So I was like, so I needed to find something right before the recording session for me, just for me to be comfortable with that. And the thing is, I didn't know my limits, vocally speaking, back then. So we booked 2 days. 8 hours per day, 16 hours in 2 days of screaming and whatever. And the thing is, I wanted to show them that I could really deliver. I could do something. And I remember at the end of the second day, I had blood in my saliva. That was just like too much.
Yeah.
But that was my first video game. And then that's how I started. I did voices in Assassin's Creed, mostly work for Ubisoft Montreal at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, people talk. People talk.
Of course. Never heard
like
that
we do
before.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we do now. And then it started, okay, I just Montreal. They want one voice for Thief. They have a creature. And then, oops, another one. But it took a long time before I actually had the idea of creating a company, because over time, it's just that people were like, oh, do you have... like other people could do that. Basically, they were asking me, do you have any other friend? And of course, metal vocalists, we don't have friend.
We're all alone.
We're all alone. I know, because I knew mostly every metal vocalist in the musical scene in Quebec. So like, yeah, what are you looking for? Okay, we need, female voices and then and that. And that's basically like, because a lot now, I think I really give an in-depth.
I love it. I'm
something really in-depth into
it.
Why is it like it makes sense?
So it kind of came together out of necessity. It's like over time you're getting over and over the same questions. So one's like, hey,
but the thing is, if you look at it, like it seems like it's a zigzag. Like, but if you just go back and you look at, the thing has always been driven by my love of weird voices and vocal effect, and the thing the amazing thing human being can do with their voice.
Yeah.
So now I see it, what I do, and see what happened in the past. I was like, everything makes sense now, for real. Like it's. So.
Did you have like one of those days? It just said click in your brain. And
No, and it took a while. Again, that was like I was recording like once a year, once 2 years, once a year, and then maybe once 8 months. But then after, just when, like, as soon as I created the company, for me, it kind of cement my, like, crystallize. I'm going to say it like that. Yeah, it's better than cement. Crystallize my will to really do something. and to really like become a service provider. Because I was seeing, oh, they really like what we do. And it's fun because they don't go back to Animal Sound Library. They're still coming back to us. So it might be interesting. But it's when I created the company that I really went serious about it. But I had a full-time job. And at the same time, I was working for the Monster Factory at the beginning.
Yeah, you need to set up clients and everything as well.
Exactly. So I would have been really poor.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. After a year and a half, after being sick during the pandemic for 6 months, like I had like 3 stomach ulcers. I was sick all the time. That's because of, being stressed because...
Of course.
They laid off so many people at my job that you had 3 times the work that you had previously, and that was just insane. So at some point, I was supposed to go back to work after 6 months. And then I was like, do I want to go back to this?
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to be sick again because the job didn't change.
Yeah.
And that's what made me sick.
Exactly.
So like either I go back there or I go deep in darkness.
You also know what you're going into, and that makes it even worse at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like you already know that your mental is not going to be stable.
Yeah, exactly. I started to feel sick just thinking about it. That was like, so I was like, okay, you know what? If I want this to work, I need to dive, to plunge into the abyss, the dark abyss of creature and monster voices. And I need to do everything in my power to make it work. And that's what I did.
One thing that is positive about that is this is actually something you're also passionate about. You've done it and you love it. I can really tell.
You've seen the fire.
Yes. I hear the fire.
Yeah. Of course. And that's one of the things is when I speak to people about it, and that's what I love is that video game industry is tons of creative people. Creative people respond to passion.
Yeah. Definitely do.
Of course, to professionalism. That's also, if you only have passion but you're not professional, you're like, oh, good boy. But you need other elements. But when you know what you do and you're passionate about it and people can feel it, they want to work with you. They're like, this guy, I really want to work. And if I look at the last 2 years, like even the first time I was here, like it was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And if I look at that time, and now it's if you look at our portfolio, the number of games we worked on, and what we're doing now, and all the speaking and engagement that I have around the world, because I travel a bit.
Just a little bit.
It's going super well, but that's the thing. A lot of people will determine their success based on, I'm doing $2 million a year. In terms of I work on this, on that. I have a lot of volume.
Yeah,
that's not what I want. I don't want volume. I want quality. I want to have the time to spend the time to look at stuff, to be involved, and to give the feeling that it's, a grandma and grandpa shop where you have tailor-made services that you take the time. Because sometimes when your structure becomes too big, when it feels impersonal. It feels that you're just rushing things.
Yeah, it becomes more corporate.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're rushing things to make money and to go to the other contract because you just say yes to another one and another one, and you need to keep going. Because I had to think about where I want to go with this thing. How far am I willing to grow? Because we're growing pretty fast. And for me, it was like I don't want to go there. I know exactly that I don't want to go there. And I want to be able to have the time, all the time that I need to think about stuff and to help the people and to be dedicated and to help them as much as possible. Yeah. And if you're just into volumes, you're no longer able to do that little thing.
Because you're kind of getting, I would say, you kind of get forced to do certain choices then if you become too big. I mean, everybody's got to have food on the table.
When you have 100 employees, you need to be able to support them.
Exactly.
So you need like, and it's okay. Like, I don't blame big companies, not the thing. No. But for me, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want to give all the love that I can to my little monster and creature, work with the voice talent, make sure they are prepared for the recording session, make sure that the client understands exactly what we are proposing and what we will be recording. So and if I were just like, okay, let's go one after the other, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would feel that I give less than what they deserve.
Yeah, because it kind of becomes not so personal anymore either. So, and also that will, in the end, also shine upon the product itself. If you have a business model that is unpersonal, the result is going to become unpersonal
exactly.
sooner or later.
Exactly. But again, I'm not blaming people who choose to go the other way.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Like,
everybody has their own choices.
We need
and all
it.
there.
Like we need company to be able to provide tons of services.
Yeah.
But for me, that's not my thing. So this is why I travel, and I want people to know what I do in the company as much as possible. It is basically because I want to go to a point where I can choose the project that I want to work on, and for the rest, I don't know. But I want to be able to do that. Yeah. And again, I have time to spend to like really deliver quality product and take my time to really come up with something creative.
But considering over time as well, I mean, you started at Ubisoft in Montreal.
But I'm not working for them as an independent contractor.
Exactly.
Because some people message me through LinkedIn sometimes. I look at this and they say, "Oh, you're Ubisoft." So for me, it's always like, "Did you read it?" I'm not. It says independent contractor.
Yeah.
But those are a pesky service provider like myself.
No, but considering like you started out at the company like Ubisoft. I mean, it's a big company.
It
has
is.
studios all over the world and so on. How do you feel about having that as your first gig instead of today, where there's a lot of indie developers, for example, that are much smaller and so on? I mean, the reach you got already from your first gig as a contractor.
Like, this is not how a voice career is usually built, right? If you look at the career of voice actor, you go to theater school, and then you do some school play, you do a lot of free stuff at the beginning, then maybe there's, an audio book down the line, and then maybe at some point you have indie game you do, and then you do this and that. And then after a number of years, you get a casting call for AAA video game. Like, that's the usual route.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how I imagine it.
For me, I was right there, right at the AAA level. So this is why, like, when you start there, you learn pretty fast how this works.
Yeah.
At that level. So for me, it was great because I had to learn fast to actually be able to still be there and not be like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he's non-professional. So for me, just like, oh no, I am at that level right off the bat, like right at the start. So I really need to get on my A game.
Yeah.
But now, and that's one thing you were actually mentioning about indie game company. Like, we do work on smaller projects. Don't get me wrong. I love it, but sometime, of course, it's a question of budget, right?
Of course.
I don't want to sell my services for $25 an hour because I spent 34 years honing
that skill.
And for me, I'm like, let's sell that for $20 and see how you feel about it. And so, but I do believe indie game companies deserve amazing sound. So this is why I'm working on the first few amazing sound libraries that we want to work on, so that. Because I understand the budget thing, I'm not blaming anyone for not having a small budget, especially
of course.
in the indie game developers. So I want to be able to have tools so that I can offer them, so at least they can get maybe not the same level of tailor-made attention things that we can deliver, but at least have really amazing sound deliver people that who have experience in creature voice acting. Because most of my crew in Montreal, we've been doing it for quite long time.
For a long time,
yeah, exactly.
And usually I've heard this like reference to when we're talking about payment and why we pay people a certain amount of money. It's like there's a reference with a guy fixing a boat. It's like they don't know what to do. The propeller is not working, and they got a lot of different mechanics over there, and they couldn't find the problem. And then they got one experienced guy, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, I can fix it, but it cost a lot of money." And all he did, he took his hammer and just hit the propeller, and it started working. And it was like, oh, you hardly did any work. No, but all the years and everything, I know exactly where to hit on the propeller.
I love that. I absolutely, no, it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And for me, I work with voice talent that has spent years and years and years and years of trying to be the best at what they do. And the thing is, they mostly did it out of passion. Like, if you ask any metal vocalist, realistically, you don't live off being in a metal band. Like, this is something like I never made any money, even though I still love to do it 34 years later.
Yeah.
So how many people do you know that try to sustain something without making money? That's because it's when they're passionate about it.
Exactly.
Right? And so at least now, some video game company can recognize the skill that we have. And for once, not only do we have the recognition, but we're getting paid what we are worth. And that thing alone is my main motivation to keep doing what I do, because it's not only about me, it's about the craft, and it's about the recognition of our craft and the time everyone spent into honing their skill to do exactly that. And that makes me proud. So even when I'm not booked, even if a company doesn't choose me to be with a voice, I have the same pleasure. Whatever, it's not me or someone else, I have the same pleasure, and I have the same, like, I'm so glad. Like, it's one of us.
Exactly.
Right? It's not the last of us.
That's a good one. That was a good one. No, but it's always interesting as well. I mean, considering with experience and payments and so on, it's like there's so many factors going in. Of course, you can pick one that is less money, like utilize services like Fiverr and so
we have
on.
a couple of games coming out. Like we listen. It's fine.
Yeah.
I and the thing is, I said yes because I had time. And if I was rushed, I was like, no, I don't have time to do that. But and that is something we're working on, to have different tools to actually help and to be able to fit different budget, because that's how it is. And the thing is, I love about the idea of sound libraries is that at some point in their career, maybe one of those people who bought a sound library will be in a company that has maybe a little bit more budget for a Creature and Monster sound. Of course. And if we were there at the beginning, they might think about us and they might ask us to do this stuff, and then they have budget and we'll get.
And even an indie developer could have utilized these libraries and then huge hits.
Or the thing is, he could utilize it in a game, and then boom, the game exploded.
Exactly.
And then
and then it knows, like, oh, there was a really good library from this. Of course, we're going to use tailored this time.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So you're basically selling yourself, just like you're selling a band shirt.
Yeah. No, exactly. So for me, and that's the thing, like for me, the name of the company is the Monster Factory. So I want to be able to deliver everything that revolves around monster sound. Yeah. Right? Because I would be called something else. So but that's the thing, like what people don't know. Because what people see, and you know about it, they usually see, the tip of the iceberg. Like they see that. They see, because the tip of the iceberg for me is what you show on social media. Yeah. It's time to release
we're
something.
only showing the best parts.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't see the 99% of work, and the person working 80 to 90 hours a week to make, like, only see, that thing. And for now, I have people helping me, but I'm all kind of holding the boat with everything I have. Yeah. And that's the thing, I had to learn how to delegate. Because, when I was talking about growing, at some point, wherever you want to grow, you have to learn about delegating. And it's difficult when, the job is not going to be done as good as you could do it. And you have to learn how to live with that. Yeah. And that is not always easy.
And also learn to trust.
Exactly. Like, no, but I do trust the people. Like, those people, usually I've known them for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So, the trust is already there. Yeah. Like for the other one, because I have other voice talent around the world, like for Elizabeth, the voice actress of El Toga in Hellblade 2, I didn't know her 2 years ago. Like we met on Zoom, we talked, and I explained to her the project, and I told her it might take a long time before you actually get a part. Surprise, surprise. First part in Hellblade 2. Yeah. Which is not a bad first part. First time. And that's the thing, like again, if you look at the usual career for a voice actor, that's not where you start. So doing what I do help people start where I started. Yep. There.
Exactly. No, it's super interesting to see how it kind of comes along with everything. It's like building stone, and talking a little bit more about this passion and talking about professionalism. So for me, when we're talking about these two things, we can still separate them, because you can be passionate while not working about it, like me doing this podcast. But for a guy or a person that does something professionally, they usually tend to do like what they need to do. It's like, if you need to drive a car 40 miles, you drive 40 miles. But if you're a professional and passionate about it, you will not go the 40 miles. You will go 80 miles.
Oh, you will go.
Really
you will go
pushing
above
it.
and beyond.
Exactly.
Like in my case, we're talking about how much did I travel last year? Because you're talking about mileage. Made me remember. I remember Air Canada sent me my old mileage for 1 year, and it was 82,000 kilometers. So 2.2 times the around the earth.
Oh my God.
This is how I travel last year in terms of going to video game convention and talking about what I do. This year is going to be a little more.
Is that due to more conferences or actually?
Yeah, more conferences. So when you talk about doing extra mileage, I think I do a bunch.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep, I know how it feels.
No, but at the same time, I think what you do is also way better utilized, like eye to eye. Like it really becomes something else. I mean, theoretically, you could just have a portfolio online. It's like, hey, contact us.
Yeah.
But going around and actually showcasing it live to people, you understand is exactly what people will hear in their headphones in the end.
Exactly. Try to write an email and let passion slip through the words. Like, even if you're kind of, it's exactly, because one of the things is that when you receive an email that is not requested, you kind of like, But when you sit down to listen to someone talk about this thing, is because you're interested.
Yeah.
There's interest in that is not there maybe when you send an email. So the level of impact on what I would say client opportunities or it's this is why I travel. This is why I come and see people and I shake their hand. And because human contact, because that's the thing, sometimes people forget that business relationship before being business relationship or human relationship. And that sometimes people forget to establish. And they run, oh, you're not in audio, I'm not going to talk to you. That's not what I do. I talk to everyone that are passionate. Even if I'm not working in that specific field, I don't care.
I'm the same.
You're a cool human, whatever, cool, let's talk. Like, what do you do? Talk to me about. But that's the thing, when you go for a big volume and like you wouldn't, like for you just want to talk to the people in your field because those are the ones who will bring you money. That's now I see business relationship. I see it as building bonds and trust relationship first with people. And then if there's a business after that, yay. If there's not, I made a new friend.
Yeah.
That's it.
It becomes very important to understand as well. I mean, having that, I would say, personal level of connection really helps as well. I mean, even if you don't talk to the person in charge, I mean, even if you talk to a programmer who is very passionate, that you feel like, oh, this is really sparking something within me, I want to do, like, you become even more passionate. But at the same time, that programmer can also go to work. I talked to this amazing dude. It's like, we really need to get him.
You never know
exactly
where it's going to come from.
Yeah.
So you have to be nice to everyone.
Definitely.
And be human to everyone, because after all, that's what we're here for. Basically to build bonds. Like, I know we make video games, I know we make whatever, but our first goal, and this is what it is to be human, is to build bonds between one another. That's the main thing. But sometimes we forget a little bit about that.
We do. We become egocentric.
Yeah.
Like, we need to think about ourselves as well, but at the same time share our passion and all the love we have extra.
Exactly.
But it's so much fun when you say it's like, oh, we're here to be human and so on, says the monster.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's the thing. Like, and for me, this is why I love doing it so much.
Yeah.
Because it is so not me. Like, I mean, we've talked like for the last few days, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a dark, depressed.
No, you're a jolly guy.
Yeah. But that's what I love about it, is that I can go to this place, be a monster, but come back as a human, and not be eaten by the abyss that I'm actually
darkness.
Channeling when I do this kind of thing. So for me, having this chance to play something that is totally opposite of myself, totally opposite of what it is to be human. But sometimes not so far. But I absolutely adore it. And yeah, I do believe that you need to be a good human to be a bad monster.
That's wise words. That's really wise words. No, it's so beautiful. On your talk that you had previously, you also said a little bit about this with you have all these metal vocalists and so on, but at the same time, they're just really good people behind. So even if they go in as this character, being like rough and tough.
Even if they look like bad monster on stage, if you talk with them after, they are good humans.
Definitely.
So it goes with what I just said. It fits perfectly.
It's like when you see somebody at the gym, it's like really big guy, and it's the most cuddliest one out of everybody.
You know, I for me, because I play different kind of music. And throughout all the kind of music and the people in those kind of music I met, those people, metal people, are the sweetest one. Sweetest. Yeah. Sorry. Again, French guy.
At least you didn't say Swedish. Yeah. That would have been weird. Those are the Swedish guys.
Are the Swedish. Swedish one. No, but yeah. Absolutely.
But in all honesty, I think that this has been a super amazing interview and going through everything. But I have three more questions that I would like to cover.
And I'll try to be succinct.
Yeah.
Now it can be quite chatty.
Yeah, definitely. No, but the first one is considering like Monster Factory, the company. You're always working with monsters and so on. What is usually the next steps? Like, are you trying to figure out new techniques to work and find new monsters and creatures to vocalize?
When I was talking about vocal archetypes, like we know a bunch, but there's still things sometimes that what is it? So for me it's important. It's one of the thing that I do a lot. I play a lot of video game and I will watch a lot of movie to understand the audio references that people have in mind when they do these things. And basically also like that's the beautiful thing. Like I can still find new sound to do. 3 years ago when I started to do Guardian of the Galaxy, the video game, I couldn't do uvula vibration. Now people are like, what is uvula vibration? So so probably if you watch the movie Enemy Mine, an old movie in the 80s, like watch it if you don't know about it, because it comes from there, but it's uvula vibration. I couldn't do that 3 years ago.
Okay.
And there was actually a character was it needs to sound like a snake, but like something. And I started experimenting. And the thing I didn't know is that Peter Cullen, the voice actor who did the voice effect for the Predator, this is exactly what he did.
Oh.
Yeah. But I didn't know about it. So and I only learned that people like, hey, did you hear? Because of course, I know the Predator sound.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that it was not sound design.
Yeah, it was a person behind it.
Of course, after that was sound design, but I always had the impression that it So so I listened to that. Last time, very recently, I was playing with the Donald Duck sound, and I was like, okay, maybe there's a way. And this has nothing to do with monster sound, but still we still have that capacity after years of playing with our voice to find new sound. I was like, and I heard the big boxer doing something. I was like, maybe I. So it sounds like a didgeridoo. So I couldn't do that like 2 months ago. So there's always new stuff.
So you're really getting passionate about other people's techniques and so on from different sections.
I work with a bunch of vocal geek, like for real. Like if you think I'm a vocal nerd, I have people who are 100 times more vocal nerd, and I love them, and I work with them. Like we were in Rome a week ago, actually, to work with a doctor called Enrico Di Lorenzo. Is actually what they call a phoniatrician there, but let's say an ENT doctor. And I was with 11 vocal coaches from the Monster Factory. And we did laryngoscopic examination, and we did so to actually be able to give more details about the mechanism that we use to create those sounds, in order so that we can understand what we can do, the limits, and after that, explaining that to people that we work with. I was talking about we are working on a naming convention for voice effect, because this happened to me so much. Like, hey, can you do that?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Okay, do you mean this, that, or that?
There's
So
no
what
real
we-
category right
No,
now.
exactly. So what we did is we look at the science, because science in extreme voices in singing exists. Like we
Yeah.
have more than 50 studies spanning over almost 30 years. So we took that, and of course there was a few new sound, new vibrations. Was like, okay. And we are almost done, but we're going to produce a video so that when voice designer, when audio director, sound designer want to name a voice effect, they're going to be able to do so because they're going to have the source sound and the name.
Okay.
So they'll be able to say, hey, that uvula vibrate.
Yeah.
Or the buccal speech, like, the zombie, which is tissue in the back of the soft palate. And now we can actually know exactly what they mean and know exactly what they want. So it makes things go faster.
But is this something also applied to people that is working with auto direction, for example? It feels more aimed towards people working with like vocal coaches and so on. Or is it something you want to push into?
Yeah.
full...
No. But that's the thing. Like usually, I deal with audio director or sound designer, and again, they don't know how to name.
Exactly.
Sometimes they don't have the audio references, or sometimes they give us audio references like, I would like this. Okay, but that's what it's called. And I think that for me, it's important to educate people with the science and not just say, but because that's the thing. Like in metal, if you want to learn how to do this, and if you go on YouTube, like I can tell you 90% of the stuff is scientifically inaccurate. They don't know what they're talking about because people think that because you can do something that you can teach it. Sometimes people think that they're the worst teacher.
Yeah.
You have to be knowledgeable about vocal anatomy, vocal health. You have to at least read the studies to understand how things work, to understand that you're not pushing from the diaphragm.
Yeah.
That you probably heard that.
So many times.
Exactly, but it is scientifically inaccurate. So for me, I always make a point beyond everything that I do to actually bring science and bring the right words and the right approach to actually talk about this.
I think that is actually really beautiful said. And also bringing that understanding will also bring a better clarity in the end.
Absolutely.
So in the end, everybody will know what we're talking about.
Exactly. Clarity.
Yeah.
And clarity of intent.
Clarity of intent. Yes. No, so the next thing I want to go. So 2 more questions.
Yeah.
And these are usually the standard questions that I love to ask guests on the show. And it's, of course, a positive and negative thing. And we always try to end a show on a positive note.
Perfect.
So let's go into something that you feel like is really hard to do when working with monster voices. What is the hardest part with the whole construct of creating these noises and etc.?
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not the sound production. It's not because sound comes from people, right? People, a lot of them have egos.
Yes.
So I would say that is because I'm also a talent agency, with everything that I do. So I would say the hardest for me is sometimes to have to deal with people who thinks they are better than they are, who thinks they're more important than you are. And sometimes voice talent, they're insecure, and it's okay. It's my job to comfort them, to give them everything they need.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's draining.
Of course.
That insecurity, and I get it because I do exactly what they do. So I get it. But it's just that, especially with the number of people I have to deal with, and it's a really personal thing. Like for me, probably if we would have more people working, maybe I wouldn't have to deal too much with that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, the difficult thing sometimes in the Monster Factory is the human aspect. Even if when we're talking about it is the most important one as well, but it can be also the most most difficult. Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing with so many factors here that I would say it's unlimited amount of things that can happen, go into something. And it could be just a matter of perspective as well. It's like,
absolutely.
Like somebody just misunderstood something. It all depends on how you said something to somebody. It's like, oh, they hated it. No, they never said hated it. We just didn't like this part.
No, exactly. And the other thing is that I know it's natural in the industry, but sometimes like the contract and what you have to deal with. I'm fine with non-disclosure agreements. Like I'm a tomb. I'm like, I'm not going to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But it is sometimes when you look at stuff and you give away your rights forever for the universe and for eternity. Because I get to see those. Most people don't get to see like the extent of and sometimes I'm like, why? So there's, and understand the necessity of it, but I'm like,
yeah, I know what you're going after here, because I'm on your ballpark here as well. I mean, more transparency into the world. It's so much better. I think we can actually motivate each other so much better.
Yeah, but I want to have a contract, because it clarifies the relationship, which is perfect. But at some point, like,
it becomes too
how
much.
far how far we are willing to let things go to still keep doing what we're doing. And sometimes I like, and also for me, it's not the most difficult, but doing accounting, taking picture of my invoices, doing that's the thing. Like, I manage by default, but I create by passion. I have a lot of really good catchphrase, right?
You do. So it's not a monster factor; it's a catchphrase factory.
Yeah, exactly. Not the catfish or cat. What do you cat? No, how do you call this? Bait.
Whatever. Catfish is when you're trying to get somebody else, something else.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's all right. Okay, I was right on the money.
Yeah,
it's good. All right.
Now you're getting paid. No, and considering more happy things, like, what is the most interesting thing working within voice distortion and making the monsters then?
When I look back at why I was doing it, I was doing it at first to let out a rage who derives from not understanding the world or seeing the world and saying, oh my God, it's not fair. It's not as beautiful as when I was a kid and I believed in Santa Claus.
He's not real?
Oh, shit. Sorry. So at the beginning, I was doing it out of rage. And then after that, it became something else. Like, I think the rage was like, I had passed that phase. And it was mostly basically, when I look at, let's say, the lyrics or the stuff I was talking about, it was more about trying to understand the world. So in order to really understand it, if you're always in rage, it's kind of impossible to see the world as it is, right? Because you're like a boiling pile of
nobody
blood.
would kind of reach out a hand either.
Because
they know they will get
They would feel
hurt.
that kind of, that kind of rage. So it was me for somewhat of a calmer approach and try and understand why these bad things are happening. Why is that? Why is that? And then at some point, it just became sheer and pure joy. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, for most people, when they start dabbling into vocal distortion, sometimes they cough, they have a hard time, it's not comfortable. Like, I'm pretty sure by now, every time I scream, my brain secretes dopamine. Like, I'm sure I'm at that point where it brings me this sense of profound joy and fun. And if you were to look at me in a recording studio, you would see I'm having a blast. Like, it shows in my face. Like, I'm just wow, because I know that I'm playing something so far from myself that I enjoy it. I enjoy getting into those zombies, those ghouls, and those whatever. And again, it's also because everything I've done in my life who seems senseless now, it all makes sense. And making sense is something I wish for everyone, because finding a sense to why am I on this goddamn planet, going...
Finding your place in the world.
But exactly, having a sense of why you are here. And the thing is, you're the only one who can determine that.
Yeah.
So when you found that and you look behind, you're like, well, back then it didn't seem to make sense. But now it does. And that's
amazing.
Beautiful. Yes. Exactly.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. No, in all honesty, it's been amazing talking to you.
Likewise.
For people that like this interview, how can they get in contact with you? How if they feel like, hey, I want to get in contact with the company.
Absolutely.
Making monsters. How can they do that?
First, they can draw a pentacle on the floor.
Keep going. I'll write this down.
And they need to say the Monster Factory 3 times, and then I appear, and they can make their wish.
Do they need a window or something? Or a mirror?
No. The thing is, we do have social media. We do have a website, themonster/factory.com, so you can have a lot of information there. We are on social media. We have a LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel where you can actually hear some of the voice sample we did for some game, and a couple of video explaining what we do. So
you have some like in studio videos when you can see the talents. If I remember correctly.
Exactly. So we have a bunch of stuff. So Google the Monster Factory. If technically we do have a good SEO, but sometimes there's another Monster Factory in the state, which is a wrestling school. So if you let's say you type the Monster Factory and you see people wrestling, that's not us.
Yeah.
Go to the other one.
They may be screaming, but not in the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but in all honesty as well, all the information for links and so on will be in the description of this episode as well. So it will be easy for people to find where you are.
And again, draw a pentacle.
Oh my God. I'm almost getting scared here. It looks so kind and everything, but then this monstrosity of voices coming out. It's crazy.
That's what I love. That moment where thing flips.
Yeah. It's like a horror movie. It's like, oh, I'm safe. Oh, no, I'm not safe here.
And then you hear the...
Exactly.
You know, the violins and everything.
And there we lost half the people.
Then you have like a small sound.
Not just monster voice, it's a sound design soon as well.
No, exactly.
They're going to take everybody's job.
No. And that's one thing real quick that I don't want sound design to think that, I understand their love of playing with sound. And what I was saying is that when you do sound for something that should be alive, it's hard to take what I call dead sound and just take random sounds. Like, I understand that you can do that, but I do believe that it's a little bit more efficient when you just put a little soul in them.
Put that little extra mile into the sound.
Exactly.
Beautiful said. No, but it's been a blast. I feel very honored to have you in front of me in this podcast to talk about your job.
Same. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this. Without people like you, who wouldn't hear about what we do. Yeah. So for me, there's no like, I'm the important person and you're not. And for me, I value immensely what you do and people like you. So, and it was just a blast meeting you, really. Thank you.
Yeah, and for everybody who's listening in, this was episode 41, if I remember. Me in numbers, as I said.
41.
I can do some really bad ones. Yeah. I'm trying.
I thought you were only doing birds.
I just eat them. No, but this was episode 41, together with Sébastien from the Monster Factory, making creature voices and talking about where the hell he came from.
Well, the hell is, where the hell he came from.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it.
So yeah, with that said, I want to thank everybody for listening in on this week's episode of the Gameable Audio, a video game podcast. I want to thank everybody. And with that said, have a good week, everybody. And see you all guys next time.
Next time.